Hello, I'm Joyce of the Highland Park Senior Producers, and today I have a very talented guest for you, Mary Seifarth. I got it right. Got it right. And she's going to be talking to you about one of her favorite subjects, birds, the flock of birds.
My new flock.
But first we're going to go into her background, and she's going to tell us she's an artist and potter,
a sculptor, potter, professor, scholar. I've written some published articles on medieval Byzantine ceramics, one of the great sellers, and I'm very active in the arts, And I'm the granddaughter of a significant architect in the Chicago area, Robert Seifarth, born in Blue Island, did most of his work on the North Shore, and I've lived in one of his houses for 70 years. And
your grandfather also, right?
My grandfather.
Didn't he? Wasn't he architect for the
house?
Yes,
I said my grandfather.
Oh, I thought you said your father.
No, it was my grandfather.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
So
what was his first name again?
My grandfather was Robert Seifarth.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's the architect who worked with George Mayer, moved up to Highland Park from Blue Island, and did his whole career mostly on the North Shore. He built 70 houses in Highland Park, many on the North, and they're beloved, beautiful, gracious, well-proportioned houses. And I grew up knowing this, and my father would take me around to see some of his houses.
I mean, in Chicago, a couple hundred houses, correct?
Well, I'd say they're in Michigan. I mean, in the Chicago area, over 300.
Oh, wow.
That's Barrington. Did several in Michigan. And they have they're beautifully constructed. It's the proportions and the scale and the light. And he was sort of a classical modernist, I call him.
Oh, okay. So you got some of your
you got to do your own. You got to toot your own horn here. And then I went to art school. I've traveled a good amount, and this flock of mine is my latest body of work.
Yeah. How long have you been doing things with flocks?
Well, I'm a potter. I taught ceramics at Columbia College and the Art Institute for 30 years. Mm-hmm. I have a master's degree in ceramics and sculpture from the University of Illinois, Champaign.
You showed, we had you on when you showed the, what was it called, a tower?
I had my prairie sky columns that I did as a graduate project at the University of Illinois.
Yeah.
I've been associated with the Highland Park Art Center and on the Highland Park Historical Commission appointed by Dan Pierce.
He's been on TV with me too. Dan
so my roots are very much here.
Yeah.
And Highland Park has a remarkable retention rate. I mean, a lot of people who do interesting things here were born here or their parents here.
Oh.
Joey Reinstein is 5th generation.
Oh, really?
So it must be in the water. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I moved here like 20 years ago, but I love it around here.
Well, the transportation is easy. The location is great. It has gotten better in my lifetime. I mean,
really?
The lake is clean. It used to be filthy when I was a child.
Oh.
Ravinia Park is better. Skokie, the botanical garden was a swamp.
Really?
And now it's a beautiful garden.
Oh, yeah.
And the transportation is good. And the live and let live mentality is wonderful.
Yeah.
And then O'Hare Field's not too far. You can fly out of here.
That's true. And Milwaukee, too.
Hey, look at Milwaukee,
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful place to live.
Yeah, I know. I lived in the Hancock Building in Chicago, but I love it out here. I really do. I never lived in suburbs before, you know. But I've gotten very accustomed to it, and with so many activities and friends, and people are very friendly. And so, what about the birds? When did that start?
Well, as I say, I'm a sculptor, and I've also done foundry work, and I was impressed. I worked at the Midwest Clay Guild for 30 years as a studio potter. I would take my work to very local art fairs. Some in New York. I've traveled as far as New York, Flint, Michigan, and you set it up, and this is back in the 80s, and you sell your wares. Then I realized I needed more information, so I went to the University of Illinois, which was great. From there, I became involved with some medieval Byzantine scholars that took me to Greece for 2 summers to do archaeological work. I mean, I'm down in the pits cleaning out the
Susie
shards.
moved to Greece. She lived there a while.
Yeah, well, I lived there for 2 summers.
Oh, okay.
And that introduced me to medieval Byzantine ceramics, which rarely people know. You're a street person doesn't, but it's an interesting genre of world art. And then I've taught it for a long time, and I've published articles on it. So I'm very comfortable with this. And then working, ceramics is a labor-intensive, but you have to have a lot of tools. You have to have a kiln, a fire, the clay. There's a lot of production to it. That's why it's best if you work with a guild or in a class, because moving it around, putting it in the kiln, taking it out, using it, you need teamwork. So I didn't have a team for a couple of years, and I was impressed by an outsider artist, Judith Scott. I saw her work at Intuit. Intuit is the outsider art gallery in Chicago, or intuitive art, artists who were not trained by the academy. And now it's big-time art. And there are a lot of stars in the Intuit world, and I know people who work in the gallery. And this Judith Scott, her sister took her out of a home in North Carolina and put her into an art school in California, and she just took strings and rope and twine and linear work and bound it, colorful. And some of her pieces were as big as a bathtub.
Really?
I went, whoa, what is this? And then she died a few years ago. Then she was given a show at the Brooklyn Academy of Art, Brooklyn Museum. This is big time. And the work had an energy I'm an academic. It had an energy about it that was impressive to me. And it flashed into my mind, this is not art school art. So I like a beer at the end of the day. I get the boxes, and I go to the liquor store. They give them away at certain times, and I don't know why I did birds. I cannot tell you that right now. Maybe by the end of this. And I started to bind brown paper with twine, masking tape, tacks, glue, wire, and somehow these birds came out. And let's see, here's Madonna. This is 3 summers worth of work. Here's my Madonna. And my neighbor, Steve Hirsch, who is a lot of us know each other from our grandparents. That's how deep the taproot goes. And it's a wonderful strength and association. And I'm looking at John J. Audubon, one of America's great illustrators.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him.
And I'm looking at books, but I'm not a figurative sculptor. The vessel is my backbone, but I'm a good craftsperson, craftsperson, and I work in paper and metals, and so I could put these together, but I'm looking at models. And over the years, these have turned into 2 bronze pieces on top of a tree overlooking a ravine in Highland Park. But now I have Crow Raven, and Crow Raven is a Byzantine hybrid. That's where it came from. It came from my study of, and a lot of ceramics, of Byzantine popular imagery, not secular. And they often had a hybrid bird, crow raven, peacock hawk, as the hybrid had a power, an extraterrestrial power. And so here's Crow Raven, here's Madonna, here's Henry won 2nd prize at the Highland Park Arts Center. And here's Ravi of the Ravines. And after 3 or 4 years, I have a flock. I don't know if you can zero in on this, but here's my flock. And they have been hilarious in a sense. I hope they have a personality and a character. You see that? Here, let's turn it down a little bit.
No, it's better.
And it's out in a character. And they have grown from cardboard, obviously is not an outdoor material, to welded bronze. And I have a friend who is a welder, he knows the birds well, who lives up in Milwaukee, and he interpreted Madonna, I don't have these pictures, Madonna and these 2 birds, Ravi of the Ravines and Madonna, in bronze. and they sit on top of a 30-foot tree overlooking the ravine in Highland Park.
Oh.
So they go flown outside. But now you need a flock. Their personalities, so individual, their conversations are unique. And a friend wrote that. I work in the basement. I only do these in the wintertime.
Oh.
In my basement, working on top of the washer and dryer. I mean, it's pretty. And glue
While
and tape.
it's on, the washer and dryer?
Yeah, sometimes they're on. So
They shake.
yeah. And I get up early in the morning. It's 40 below. I fix a strong coffee, go down into the basement, which is a unfinished but clean, open place, and put a couple hours in, and a couple hours later. They're slow because you have to let the Elmer's glue dry.
Oh.
Believe it or not, the metal ones were, boom, faster because all they took were rivets.
Oh.
And the birds are about Ravi of the Ravines, named Owl of Herbert and Owl of Kay. This became Owl of Kay for Steve's mother. His mother was an ornithologist. They're this big, and they're this big, and this big. You know, they're sizable, and
right.
they're strips of bronze, and the wind blows through them, and they're bolted to a tree. And we've had great celebration for these.
Oh.
So it started with an outsider's inspiration. This is not art school art. And, you know, the academy can bleed it out of you in a way, but not always, and it can. But art did not come from the acad. And so I was impressed by the energy of it. And I had the time. The materials are relatively nothing. A lot of money in glue. And John J. Audubon and various Roger Torrey Peterson. I mean, I look at the bird so that you get the wing, you know what I mean? You've got to get the proportions right. And I give them a little, and they take on a crow raven. They take on, this is the first one I did.
Is that Matilda, did you say? No, what was the name?
Crow raven.
Oh.
Half crow, half raven.
Oh, I see. I'm not that familiar with birds. I've told people
crows.
somebody's going to talk about birds because I've had birds. Oh, everybody loves birds. So many people are into birds.
Oh, yeah, tonight's my Audubon meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all at Heller Art and Nature Center.
Oh.
They do a great Lake Cook Audubon Society.
Oh. Yeah. So many people. I couldn't
Birds
believe
are a
it.
big deal.
It's a big deal. The birds. So I've learned
like
quite
hawks
a bit.
and, you know, I had a wonderful time banning geese at one time with a friend of mine who's an ornithologist, and I knew people who were falconers up in Wisconsin.
Oh.
It's a big business.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big study, and they're important to the whole ecosystem. You know,
Yes.
remember when the crows were, you can kill them off with DDT and horrible things. So this is how it started.
Oh.
And I get the proportion as Henry, and Henry won second prize. So they've been my flock, friends, personalities. If I can get them together as individuals and then make a talk, it's like any artwork. When you set up an art exhibit, you have to put the right thing next to the right thing. Picasso did it. You can't just throw them up there. They have to have a conversation. If you slept in any museum at night, you would walk around those halls, and you would hear the sculptures and the paintings talk to each other.
Really?
There's a symbiosis there. It's because it's a handmade I don't think you do that with chocolate bars, and I don't think you do it with artificial intelligence. It's the beauty of the hand, you know. It's slow and cumbersome, but when they put it together, there's no middleman. It's just you and the material.
Oh.
You know, that's what's great. This is not a committee work.
I see.
You don't have to go through Congress to get to pass a bill.
Or an abortion.
Or an abortion, or you don't have to go through the legal system to do this.
I see.
So thank God, you know, and often and if your work isn't good, right, then it doesn't work.
Right.
It speaks for itself. And when you let these fly out into the world on their own, and they have to hold their own.
So what do they do in the winter?
Well, the meadow birds are out there 24/7.
Are they?
These guys are just indoors.
I see.
I've sprayed them with a fixative.
Oh.
I don't want them to come close to a fire. I mean, goodbye.
No.
But they could be they could be cast into bronze, cast into iron. They could be a model, like Madonna has been a model for another creature.
Oh.
But these are finished products as themselves. Not all sculpture has to be Michelangelo's carved David or Henry Moore. Those are great. These can, but they're quick. They're inexpensive. Model. You can't spend a lot of money on a model necessarily.
No.
So, the finished product comes through the process.
I see.
I mean, I kind of have an idea, but then you've got to get the wings right, and you've got to get the head, and obviously also when it's up 30 feet, you have to make the eyes are obviously enlarged, the horn here, because it has to speak from afar. Mm-hmm. You have to know proportion. Mm-hmm. And you learn it by doing it. This is not something you get out of a book.
No. Yeah, practice. Makes perfect.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Mm-hmm. Practice, practice, practice. Mm-hmm. So now I have a flock. And so the flock just finished this year. Here's Rocket Raven is the latest. Now I use colored cardboard. Now they talk to each other. They got a convention.
Oh.
They got a committee. Mm-hmm. One doesn't do it. One will be on itself, but the committee will speak for the individuals. And if one wants to fly away, as Henry did, he flew to California.
Oh.
So it's all, I love the metaphors and the comedy of it all.
Oh, yeah.
Like my feet. I'm sincere about them. I know that. So I don't know if they'd ever fly on their own, but that's not the point. And this big guy here, that's Peacock Hawk, but it was really my scholarship and work with popular imagery of medieval ceramics. Mm-hmm. In the bottom of a bowl, and I don't have a picture, there would be a hybrid bird. There's no such thing as a peacock hawk, and because they had special powers, often apotropaic powers, which is to protect the bowl, protect what goes into it, protect the user. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very.
It's like a jug that has a skull and crossbones on it. It's to warn you that there's bad stuff in there.
Oh.
That's how. And so, it's not a milk jug. Mm-hmm.
No.
You don't put that on your milk.
No.
So all that stuff comes through and then you can make it arty. You can make it visually interesting.
And how long have you been doing this work?
Birds, I call them. I don't know, 3 years.
Oh, it's recently then.
3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
I only do them in the winter.
Oh, I see.
And so when Rocket Raven came out 1st of May, that's it. And then I put this together and photograph, and then I'll photograph them more and more. And I don't do this in the summer because I'm outside. I don't want to be in the basement. Okay, I don't want to be in the basement, but it's a winter.
Oh,
because it's cold and creepy out there.
Yeah, for the birds too.
Yeah, the birds have flown south anyhow.
Yeah. What do you do at the Audubon meetings?
The Audubon, they have meetings with. They talk about ecological situations. They had a big conference last weekend. I couldn't make it.
Is it held in the suburbs?
It's held at Heller Nature Center.
Oh.
There are many chapters in Illinois, and this is the Lake Cook Audubon, run by Rena and Sonny Cohn, and they do a fabulous job.
Really?
So we have meetings at the Heller, and they talk about different birds and the status of the hawks and the flight pattern of so-and-so, and if there's something to be learned. And then many Saturdays and Sundays at 7 a.m., and it's cold they go from Illinois State Beach, Montrose Beach, out to the, Round Lake, and this is the migration season, so you see a lot of birds.
Oh, yeah.
Up to Fort Sheridan.
How often are the meetings?
The meetings are about once a month, and then the weekend trips are usually every weekend.
Oh, really?
Well, and then in the fall, the birds are going the other way.
Oh, right,
You
right.
can really see them on Lake Michigan. I mean, we live in the Midwest and Mississippi River. It's a tremendous flight pattern zone here.
Really?
Sure. I mean, on the Mississippi, they follow the water. In the wintertime, in January, they have an eagle sighting down at Starved Rock. What eagles are on those islands off of the rock there. And if it's very cold and the water's frozen over, the eagles keep going south. But you can really see eagles down there. The trees are bare, and this big, heroic bird they're out there. And there have been successes of bringing endangered species back to a population.
Oh, very good. Yeah, very good. People take an interest, and
Well,
that's what
the
happens.
birds, canary in the coal mine, if he goes, everybody's gone. Birds are important.
Right.
Their color. A friend of mine, she's an artist, and someone complimented her, said, Linda, how did you learn to dress so well? And she said, well, I just look at the birds. I mean, if you look at the coloring on any bird,
That's true. Yeah.
even a red-winged blackbird, stunning.
Really?
Or a crow, it's got a
Right.
black.
Where do they buy their clothes?
Probably Neiman's, or
good.
or a resale.
Oh.
Good quality, but the putting it together. Or look at the Baltimore Oriole, a brilliant orange.
Yeah, yeah.
Indigo bunting.
Wait, how did they get the name Baltimore?
I don't know. They hung out in Baltimore. I don't know.
guess so. Yeah.
You got to ask some bird, and I mean, there are volumes written on birds.
Oh, I know.
And seagulls. You think you'll see one seagull, you've seen them all. There are
Yeah. How
different
many
kinds of
different
seagulls.
kinds of birds are there?
Billions.
Really?
Sure,
really?
billions.
Oh.
And then their flight pattern and cranes. Sandhill crane, the thing stands 6 feet tall.
Really?
It's impressive.
Oh. And what do they eat, birds?
Well, they eat bugs, like a woodpecker. I mean, he has got to be crazy. He's pounding his head against a wooden tree all day long. They have holes in their heads, but a woodpecker is a dynamically designed bird. And they're pecky, 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 pecky. They peck a hole in your roof. They do all kinds of
Yeah,
things.
a friend of mine thought that the bird pecking on her windowsill was her sister reincarnated.
Well, birds are spirits. Yeah, they come
Yeah.
back from the deep.
Do they? Oh.
I mean, look at the raven in Indian and the Egyptian world. And that hawk is there. I think it's a raven, is it? And they're spirits from the other world, or the underworld.
Oh.
So birds have always been.
Yeah.
They've always been. They use passenger pigeons to deliver secret messages during the war.
Yeah, yeah.
So they wouldn't depict them. So they've it's not just human. The connection with nature is always thrilling. And I'm not trying to connect with. I'm trying to make a conversation here, and an energy. It was this outsider artist, and I'm a classical person. I mean, my stuff is very tight, clean lined.
Really?
Pots are clean. It's not mushy, but I appreciated the energy. This binding, and scale. Big. You can buy a postcard at the Art Institute of Matisse's dancers, but you go see them in real life, they're the size of a door.
Oh.
And it's not some little creepy postcard.
Oh.
Scale that's why it's important to see the artwork original. The scale is the big deal, is important.
Yeah.
Plus you see the material and you can read the workmanship. Pots, go look at those pots, see how they're made. Picture, what's a picture? But so those are, and this is not unusual. This is how an artist works. You're influenced by many kinds of things, and if you live long enough, you go through a lot of periods.
Yeah, you haven't been into it that long either, and you've
Well,
made
I'm 72. I'm trying to
no,
hang
but
in
with
there.
the birds, I mean.
The birds are. Well, I did them in ceramic.
Oh, I see.
I drew them through sgraffito in the bottom of a bowl to copy and emulate medieval ceramics.
Oh.
And that's how this hybrid came to me. It's not an original thought.
Oh.
But then the cardboard is cheap. It doesn't cost you anything. Scissors, cardboard, a ruler, compass. Glue, lots of glue.
Yeah.
Elmer's, buy Elmer's. The stock is
Really?
just going up because I used a
Because you
lot of
buy
it.
so much.
Yeah. And sometimes some other kinds of glue.
Yeah, yeah.
PC7 I put with the legs. And Coat hangers. You know, I went over to my local cleaner. They have a special heavy coat hanger.
Do they? Oh.
That I need it.
Oh.
And they give you, it's for an art project. Oh, okay, take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the cardboard is just cut and cut. You can get a little goofy on the cutting. I mean, look at all the feathers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can go a little, and then introducing. This is has a. You can see how this has a clear energy to it, because I knew less, and it was the first one. Then you get into the last one. Even this was almost a little obsessive, but it needed it.
Do people eat birds? I mean,
Pigeon?
human beings.
Pigeons,
Do they?
quail,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
pheasant,
That's true.
duck,
Uh-huh.
goose.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. Uh-huh. That's
You know,
true.
pigeons are
But fowl is,
lapine, rabbit. Ever had
fowl is altogether
Fish and
different,
fowl.
though. Oh,
lapine? Ever had rabbit? It's good.
no, I don't.
Tastes like chicken.
Not knowingly, anyway.
It's a little gamey,
Uh-huh.
but it's good.
Oh,
But that's not a bird, but quail.
yeah.
You know, something with feathers. My
Yeah.
father used to be was
What
a
about
hunter.
down jackets?
Yeah, there you go. How do you get down? I mean, they had to kill the bird.
Yeah, yeah. They're not that warm, though.
Oh, I think they're warm.
I don't. I think fur is warmer.
I like a mink myself.
Yeah.
Here, where am I? Here is my rare This is my. It's not sable, but it's a rare. I call it rare chinchilla, but it's a fur around my
Oh.
neck, and
Oh.
it is warm.
Really? Oh, yeah. I know fur is.
Fur is good.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know.
But if you go to Aspen, they'll throw spray paint on you because you raccoon. I used to have a raccoon coat, heavy but warm.
Oh, yeah, raccoon. Mm-hmm.
But that's not a bird, you know.
No.
But antelope fur is warm. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I found that out. More so than down jackets. It depends. There's different
Yeah.
kinds of down, more downy or less downy.
Yeah, more
whatever.
down, sure.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And and birds are archetypical. They're an archetype. They're a messenger from here to look at the dove. Picasso, how many pictures of a dove did he make? If you want to go to heaven, you're going with a dove.
Oh,
If you
that's
go to
true,
hell,
the dove.
you're with a devil.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So the birds are messengers.
Uh-huh.
And every culture uses them.
Really?
Indians, Egyptians,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the Eskimos have them.
Mm-hmm.
Every culture uses the bird.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
They see that you don't see, you know, and they're necessary for the ecology, for the Lord's sake.
Yes.
Eat the worms and the bugs and the mosquitoes,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
A hawk can come down and steal my cat Tiger.
What
Oh.
Animals eat birds? I mean,
Bigger ones.
oh.
Lion, top of the food, people.
Oh,
You know, the passenger pigeon used to blacken the sky in the United States of America.
oh,
And the last one, Barbara, died in a zoo in St. Louis. The species is gone.
oh, really?
So man can eliminate a species.
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah.
Eliminate.
We're getting
There's
towards,
no DNA left for that
Oh.
creature.
We're almost finished now. I mean,
Yeah, we're
there's so
kind of-
much more to talk about, really. The birds.
Well, the conversations take flight, Joyce. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
One leads to another.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, and
Well,
I hope people
well-
have too that are watching.
Well, it's a lot of fun.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, but if the wintertime
So
does
many
this.
people are interested in birds.
it's a
I
big
couldn't believe it. Everybody I talk to, oh, their family and this and
You know,
that.
they go out in the woods and look at the birds. It's a great
yeah,
outing, you
yeah,
know.
something like
My
that.
father had a life list.
Did he?